The council chamber floated in the darkness of space, a massive ring of metal and glass that circled the blue planet of Prime. Inside the chamber, 12 species sat in their designated seats, each one different from the next. Some breathed oxygen, others methane. Some had scales, others had fur or chitin or skin that glowed with bioluminescence. They were the ruling body of known space, the voice of 300 civilized worlds. Stood alone in the center of the chamber. She wore a simple dark suit, her black hair pulled back in a neat bun. Her face showed no emotion as she listened to the hive speaker drone on about humanity's crimes. The mandibles clicked with each word, translated into standard language by the neural implant every council member wore. Humanity expands too quickly, the hive speaker said. Your colony ship spread across space like a virus. In 200 years, you have settled more worlds than most species settle in 2000. This disrupts the natural order. The Tide Lord spoke next, its voice gurgling through the water-filled sphere that contained its massive form. Your military grows without restraint. Your weapons research frightens peaceful species. You glorify warfare in your culture, your entertainment, your history. This makes others nervous. Remained silent. She had heard these complaints before, in smaller meetings, in private conversations, but never like this. Never as an official ultimatum with all 12 council members present. The hive speaker continued. Therefore, the council has decided on new terms for humanity's continued membership. First, you will surrender command of your military fleet to council oversight. Second, all research and development programs will require council approval before proceeding. Third, you will accept population limits on all colony worlds. Fourth, you will open your home system to council inspectors who will monitor compliance. Around the chamber, the other council members remained silent. Some looked uncomfortable, others nodded in agreement. A few avoided looking at entirely. These terms are not negotiable, the Tide Lord added. You have 30 days to accept. Refusal will result in economic sanctions, military blockades, and possible expulsion from council space. Finally moved, she took 3 steps forward, her footsteps echoing in the vast chamber. When she spoke, her voice was calm and clear. 200 years ago, humanity received your invitation. We were new to space, naive about galactic politics. We wanted friends among the stars. We wanted to learn from older, wiser species. We wanted to contribute what we could and grow alongside you. She paused, looking at each council member in turn. We came as equals. We signed treaties as equals. We fought your wars, shared our discoveries, fed your colonies, and protected your borders. Not as subjects, not as servants, as partners. The hive speaker's mandibles clicked in annoyance. Your arrogance proves our point. You think you are special. You think rules should not apply to you. No, said quietly. We think rules should apply equally. When the species expanded rapidly a century ago, the council celebrated their growth. When the Featherwing developed plasma weapons, the council praised their innovation. When the Stonebrow settled harsh worlds, the council called them pioneers. But when humans do these same things, you call it dangerous. You demand we submit to restrictions no other species faces. The situations are not comparable, the Tide Lord objected. They are exactly comparable, replied. The difference is that other species asked for council help and guidance. They needed your protection and resources. Humanity does not. We stand on our own. We solve our own problems. We protect ourselves. And this terrifies you because you cannot control what you cannot threaten. Silence fell over the chamber. Several council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. A reptilian delegate named leaned forward, her scaled face showing concern. Ambassador, said carefully, perhaps we can find a compromise. Surely there are terms humanity would accept. Turned to, and for a moment her expression softened. There are many terms we would accept, counselor: partnership, respect, equality, but subjugation, control, inspection teams treating our worlds like criminal outposts. No, we will not accept these things. The hive speaker rose from its seat, all 6 of its limbs clacking against the metal floor. Then humanity is as foolish as it is arrogant. You are one species among 12. Your fleets are powerful but not invincible. Your economy depends on council trade routes. Your colonies need resources from council worlds. You need us far more than we need you. Smiled then, but it was not a happy expression. It was the smile of someone who knew a secret the others did not. Perhaps that was true once, she said. Perhaps 200 years ago when we first joined you we needed your help, but we learned from you, we grew, we adapted, and now, she shook her head slowly, now I think you are about to discover exactly how much you need us. Is that a threat? The Tide Lord demanded, its voice rising. No, said, it is a simple statement of fact. You have given humanity 30 days to submit to your demands. Very well. I will deliver your ultimatum to Earth, but I suspect you will not like our answer. She turned to leave, walking toward the chamber's exit with measured steps. Behind her, the council members began arguing among themselves, some demanding she be stopped, others calling for immediate sanctions. At the doorway, paused and looked back one final time. A piece of advice, she said. When you make threats, be certain you understand what you are threatening, and more importantly, be certain you can survive without what you are threatening to take away. Then she was gone, the door sliding shut behind her. In her ship, as she departed the orbital station, activated her secure communication link. The face of Earth's president appeared on the screen, waiting. They gave us the ultimatum, said, exactly as intelligence predicted. Complete submission or expulsion. The president nodded slowly. And you delivered our preliminary response. I did. They think I was being dramatic. They think we are bluffing. Then they are about to learn a very expensive lesson, the president said. Send the signal. Initiate protocol exodus. Entered the command codes. Across human space, on every colony and station and ship, a message began to transmit. 3 words that would change the galaxy forever. We are leaving. The council had made their choice. Now humanity would make theirs, and the galaxy would never be the same, sat in his monitoring station aboard Nexus 7, watching the data streams flow across his screens. As an intelligence analyst for the council, his job was to track movement patterns, trade routes, and potential threats across the entire network of civilized space. It was boring work most days. Today was different. The first anomaly appeared 3 days after Ambassador's departure from Prime. A human cargo vessel scheduled to arrive at Station 9 never showed up. Not unusual by itself. Ships had delays, breakdowns, emergencies. But then another human ship missed its scheduled arrival. Then 3 more. Then a dozen. Flagged the pattern in his report, but his supervisor dismissed it. Probably a protest, the supervisor said. They are angry about the ultimatum. They will resume normal operations once they calm down. But they did not calm down. They did something else entirely. On day 7, human merchants at the Grand Bazaar on Nexus 7 began closing their shops. They were polite about it. They finished their current transactions, paid their station fees, and thanked their regular customers. Then they packed their goods and left. When asked where they were going, they simply smiled and said home. Walked through the bazaar on his break, watching the empty stalls. The human section had been the most popular area of the station. They sold everything from basic tools to exotic foods to entertainment systems that could interface with any species' neural patterns. Now entire corridors stood empty and dark. On day 12, the human scientists at Research Station Gamma 4 submitted their final reports and resigned. All 47 of them. They organized a shuttle, loaded their personal belongings, and departed. The station director was furious. Those scientists were working on medical research that could save millions of lives. Their replacements would need years to understand the work. But there were no replacements. No human scientists applied for the positions. In fact, human scientists across Council space were doing the same thing, finishing their projects, publishing their findings, and leaving. Created a comprehensive report. His data showed a clear pattern. Humans were leaving Council space entirely, not fleeing in panic, not acting like refugees. They were conducting an organized withdrawal. Every human ship, every human citizen, every human facility was being systematically evacuated. He sent the report to the Council. They called an emergency meeting. "This is unacceptable," the Hive speaker declared. "We must stop them, send patrol ships to intercept human vessels, demand explanations." Captain Minu commanded the dreadnought Soul's Pride, one of the largest human warships in operation. His vessel was escorting a convoy of 17 civilian ships through the outer territories when 3 Council patrol ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel ahead of them. The lead patrol ship opened a communication channel. "Attention human vessels. By order of the Galactic Council, you are required to stop and submit to inspection. State your destination and purpose." Minu stood on his bridge, his hands clasped behind his back. He had served in the human fleet for 30 years. He had fought pirates, rescued stranded ships, and defended Council colonies from hostile forces. He knew these patrol ships. He had trained with them during joint exercises. The commanders were colleagues, perhaps even friends. "This is Captain Minu of the Soul's Pride," he responded. "We are escorting civilian vessels through authorized transit corridors. We are violating no laws or treaties. We do not consent to inspection." "Captain, the Council has questions about human movements. We need to understand what is happening." Minu's expression did not change. "What is happening is simple. We are leaving. We are departing Council space. Every human, every ship, every facility. We are not breaking any laws. We are not attacking anyone. We are simply exercising our right to go where we choose." "But why? Where are you going?" "That is not your concern. We are leaving Council jurisdiction. What we do beyond your borders is our own business." The patrol ship commander's voice took on a desperate edge. "Minu, we served together during the Void Swarm crisis. Help me understand this. Talk to me." Minu closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, there was sadness there, but also determination. "You want to understand. The Council demanded we surrender our sovereignty. They demanded we submit to their control. We refused. Now we are leaving. It is that simple." "The Council will change their demands. They are already talking about negotiations." "Then they can talk to empty space," Minu said. "We are done talking. Stand aside. Do not attempt to stop us." The patrol ships did not move. For a long moment, both groups of vessels hung in the darkness of space, weapons powered but not targeting, engines ready but not engaged. Finally, the patrol commander spoke again. "I cannot stop you. I do not have those orders, but Minu, you are making a mistake. Out there, beyond Council space, there is nothing. No trade, no support, no protection. You will be alone." Minu smiled slightly. "We have been alone before. We will manage." The Soul's Pride and its convoy accelerated, passing the patrol ships without incident. Behind them, the patrol commander reported back to the Council. All across the border zones, the same scene repeated. Human ships departing, Council patrols watching helplessly, unable to stop an exodus they did not understand. Compiled the data. 2 months after the ultimatum, over 60% of human ships had left Council space. The remainder were in various stages of departure. Human colonies had stopped accepting immigrants from other species. Human stations had ceased all non-essential operations. But the most disturbing part of this report was the destination data. Human ships were not fleeing randomly. They were heading toward specific coordinates at the edge of mapped space, toward regions the Council had marked as uninhabitable, toward star systems with radiation levels that would kill most species, toward asteroid fields so dense that navigation was considered impossible, toward nebula regions filled with volatile gases. Humans were going to places where the council could not follow. Presented his findings to a special council session. He stood where had stood months before, looking at the same 12 faces. "They are leaving," he said quietly, "and we cannot stop them, not without starting a war we cannot win. The question now is not whether they will go. The question is what happens to us after they are gone." The Hive speaker dismissed his concerns. "We survived before humans joined the council. We will survive after they leave. They need us more than we need them." Wanted to argue. He wanted to show them the numbers, the data, the cold mathematics of what human departure would mean. But he was just an analyst. Nobody listened to analysts until it was too late. He returned to Nexus 7 and watched the last human merchants close their shops. He watched the last human ships depart the docks. He watched as entire sections of the station went dark and empty. And he wondered if anyone else understood what they had lost. 6 months had passed since the last human ship disappeared beyond the council's borders, stood before the council assembly, holding a data tablet that felt heavier than it should. The chamber was quieter now, less confident. The 12 species that ruled the galaxy were beginning to understand their mistake. "The economic impact is severe," began, her scaled fingers swiping through screens of data. "Human traders handled 40% of all interstellar commerce. Without them, trade routes are collapsing. Shipping costs have increased by 300%. Some outer colonies are running out of basic supplies because no one else wants to make the dangerous runs humans used to handle routinely. The Tide Lord shifted in its water sphere. We have other traders. Other species can fill the gap." "They cannot," said flatly. "Human traders went everywhere. They took risks no one else would take. They delivered to war zones, to radiation-soaked moons, to stations in hostile territory. They did it quickly and cheaply. No other species is willing or able to match that." She moved to the next screen. Agricultural impact. Humans developed farming techniques that allowed them to grow food in environments other species considered barren. They shared these techniques freely. 17 council worlds now face potential famine because they depended on human agricultural knowledge, and their crops are failing. The Hive speaker's mandibles clicked in agitation. "They should have taught us better." "They tried," said, her voice sharp. "But most species did not pay attention. Why learn to do something yourself when humans would do it for you?" She continued through the data, each point worse than the last. Human medical research had eliminated or controlled 17 major diseases. Human engineers had designed and maintained the jumpgate network that allowed faster-than-light travel across the galaxy. Human manufacturing produced everything from basic tools to advanced computing systems at a fraction of the cost of other species. "But the military situation is worst of all," said, reaching the final section of her report. "For 200 years, human patrol ships guarded our trade routes. Human marines responded to pirate attacks. Human fleets protected the outer colonies. They did this voluntarily, without asking for payment or territory. They did it because they believed in the Council's mission." She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of each council member. Now they are gone, and everyone knows it. Border stations were reporting increased activity. Pirates who had been quiet for decades were attacking again. Hostile species that had feared human retaliation were testing the Council's defenses. 3 colonies had been raided in the past month. 2 had been destroyed. The Featherwing delegate spoke up, its feathers ruffling with anxiety. "We need to increase military patrols. We need to hire mercenaries. We need to show strength." "With what?" asked. "Half the council members are facing economic crises. Our military ships were designed with human support in mind. Human engineers maintained them. Human manufacturers supplied parts. Without humans, our fleets are operating at 60% capacity and declining." She set down her tablet and took a deep breath. "I warned you this would happen. I told you humans were not just another member species. They were the foundation that held everything together, and you demanded they submit or leave." The Hive speaker rose angrily. "They could have negotiated, they could have compromised, they chose to abandon us." "They chose dignity over subjugation," replied coldly, "something I am beginning to understand." While the council argued, a research scientist named was making a discovery that would deepen their despair. She worked at the council's primary research facility, studying the sensor data from the border regions where humans had disappeared. Had been born on a council world, raised to respect the wisdom of the 12 species, but she had always admired human scientists. They were curious in ways others were not. They asked questions no one else thought to ask. When they left, she had felt a profound sense of loss. Now, studying the data, she understood why they had gone where they did. The star systems humans traveled toward were hostile by council standards. High radiation, extreme gravity, unstable stellar activity. But realize something. These environments were not hostile to humans. They were merely challenging, and humans thrived on challenge. The radiation levels would kill most council species within hours. Humans could survive with basic shielding. The gravity wells required advanced engine technology. Humans had that technology but had never shared the most sophisticated versions. The unstable nebulas were filled with elements that were toxic to most species. Humans could process those elements into fuel and building materials. Ran the calculations 3 times, unwilling to believe the results. But the numbers did not lie. Humans had deliberately chosen territories where other species could not easily follow. They had found regions of space that were effectively theirs alone. But it was worse than that, much worse. The sensor data showed construction activity. Massive orbital facilities being built. Shipyards that dwarfed anything in council space. Mining operations extracting resources at incredible rates. And the energy signatures suggested technology more advanced than what humans had used while part of the council. They had been holding back. All those years, all that cooperation, and humans had been restraining themselves, perhaps to avoid making others nervous, perhaps to maintain the fiction of equality. Now, freed from council restrictions, human technology was advancing at a frightening rate. Presented her findings to privately, afraid of how the council would react. Read the report in silence, her scaled face unreadable. "They are building an empire," said finally. "No," corrected. "They are building a civilization, without restrictions, without oversight, without anyone telling them what they can or cannot do. They are becoming what they always could have been. And we drove them to it." Nodded. The council feared human military power. Now humans are building fleets in regions we cannot reach, with technology we cannot match. The council feared human expansion. Now humans are colonizing worlds we cannot even approach. Every fear the council had is coming true, but only because of how we treated them. Stared at the data for a long time. Finally, she made a decision. "I am going to request the council authorize a diplomatic mission. We need to contact humans. We need to negotiate new terms." "Do you think they will listen?" "I do not know," admitted. "But we must try, because the alternative is watching our civilization slowly collapse while humans thrive just beyond our reach." The council approved the mission, though not without fierce debate. Some members still insisted humans would return on their own once they realized they needed the council. Others wanted to send military ships instead of diplomats, but desperation was beginning to override pride. The intelligence analyst who had first tracked the human exodus was assigned to the diplomatic team. As he prepared for the journey, he reviewed all his data on human movements, human capabilities, human psychology. He had one conclusion: this mission would fail. Humans had left for a reason. They had been patient for 200 years, contributing to a council that never truly saw them as equals. When forced to choose between submission and independence, they chose independence without hesitation. Why would they come back? But would go anyway. He would deliver the council's message. He would make the offer, and he would witness firsthand what humans had become in their absence. The diplomatic ship departed 2 weeks later, heading toward the last known human coordinates. Behind them, the council waited anxiously for a response that would save them. They did not yet understand that salvation was not coming. The diplomatic ship emerged from faster-than-light travel at the coordinates had provided. What they found took everyone's breath away. Outpost hung in space like a small moon. The station was enormous, easily 10 times larger than Nexus 7. Ships moved around it in organized patterns, coming and going with military precision. Construction drones worked on expanding sections that were already massive, and everywhere the distinctive designs of human engineering. Ambassador led the diplomatic mission. He was older than most council ambassadors, with silver hair and a face marked by decades of negotiation. He had always respected humans, had argued against the ultimatum. Now he was the council's last hope for reconciliation. Request docking permission, he ordered his pilot. The response came quickly. Diplomatic vessel, you are cleared for docking at Bay 7. Governor will meet you in conference room 3. Welcome to 442. The voice was professional, polite, and completely neutral. No warmth but no hostility either. Took that as a good sign. They docked and were escorted through the station by a security team. Watched everything, recording mental notes. The corridors were clean and well lit. The crew members they passed were busy but not rushed. Everything spoke of a society that was organized, confident, and functioning smoothly. This was not a collection of refugees struggling to survive. This was a thriving civilization. Conference Room 3 overlooked the station's main viewport. Through the transparent aluminum, they could see human ships in every direction. Cargo vessels, patrol craft, construction ships, and in the distance, something that makes blood run cold. A dreadnought 3 times the size of the Soul's Pride, bristling with weapons he did not recognize. Governor entered the room with 2 aides. She was younger than expected, perhaps 40 years old, with sharp eyes and a confident bearing. She wore a simple uniform marked with the insignia of the Human Confederation. Ambassador, she said, extending her hand in the human greeting. Welcome to our territory. Please sit. They sat on opposite sides of a conference table. Aides remained standing, had brought and with him. The 2 groups regarded each other across the table like nations meeting to discuss peace after a war. Except there had been no war. That was what made this so painful. Governor began carefully. Thank you for agreeing to meet with us. The Council has sent me to discuss the possibility of renewed relations between humanity and the Galactic Council. Listened with a neutral expression. I am listening. Took a breath and delivered the message he had rehearsed for weeks. The Council acknowledges that mistakes were made. The ultimatum was a serious error in judgment. We did not fully appreciate humanity's contributions to galactic civilization. We allowed fear and politics to cloud our wisdom. He pulled out a data tablet. The Council has authorized me to offer new terms, complete voting rights with veto power, full technological exchange on equal footing, representation on all major committees, financial reparations for any losses incurred during your departure, and formal apologies from all 12 Council species for the insult you suffered. Did not reach for the tablet. She simply looked at it, then back at. Is that all? She asked. All blinked. Governor, these are unprecedented terms. No species in Council history has been offered veto power. The financial package alone represents billions in resources. This is everything your ambassador originally requested and more. It is everything we requested 200 years ago when we first joined, agreed. It is everything we asked for 18 months ago before the ultimatum. It is, as you say, everything we wanted." She paused. "When we still wanted to be part of your council." Leaned forward. "Governor, please understand. The council has changed. We have learned from our mistakes. We want humanity to return as true equals." "You want us to return as necessary servants," said quietly. "Let me show you something." She activated a holographic display. Images appeared above the table. Graphs, charts, reports, all showing the council's current state. "Your trade networks are collapsing. Your colonies are starving. Your borders are under attack. Your jump gate network is failing. Your member species are fighting each other over resources." Gestured to the data. "You do not want us back because you have learned to respect us. You want us back because you need us. There is a difference." Felt his carefully prepared arguments crumbling. Perhaps need and respect can go together. Perhaps recognizing what you brought to the council is the first step toward true respect. "No," said, "true respect means valuing someone even when you do not need them. True respect means treating them as equals when they are weak, not just when they are strong." She stood and walked to the viewport. "For 200 years, humanity contributed to the council. We asked for little in return. We wanted friendship, partnership, mutual growth. Instead, the moment we became inconvenient, you demanded we submit or leave." "We were wrong," said desperately. "We admit that. What more can we do?" Turned to face him. "Nothing, because this is not about what you can do. This is about what you revealed about yourselves. When pressed, when challenged, when faced with a species you could not easily control, you chose domination. You showed us who you truly are." Finally spoke. "Governor, I tracked your entire exodus. I know what you are building out here. This outpost is just the beginning, is it not? You have colonies, shipyards, research facilities. You are creating something unprecedented." Smiled slightly. "We are creating what we always could have created. What we held back from creating because we did not want to frighten you. We limited ourselves to make others comfortable. We restrained our technology, our expansion, our capabilities. We tried to be good members of the council." "And now you are unleashed," said softly. "Now we are free," corrected. "Free to grow without artificial limits. Free to explore without asking permission. Free to develop technology without oversight committees slowing us down. Free to be what humans have always been: builders, explorers, survivors." Played his final card. "What about the species that supported you, argued against the ultimatum? Others fought to keep you in the council. Do you punish them for the decisions of the majority?" For the first time, his expression softened. She looked at directly. "No. We do not punish individuals for the failures of their government. Any council species that wishes to trade with us may do so. Any individual who wishes to visit our space is welcome. We are not hostile to the council. We are simply no longer part of it." "Then what do you want from us?" asked. "Nothing," said simply. "We want nothing from you. We do not want your approval, your membership, your oversight, or your alliance. We left because we realized something important. We do not need you." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Felt something break inside him. This was not a negotiation. This was not a discussion. This was a statement of fact delivered with quiet finality. "The council will not survive without human support," he said quietly. "Then the council will fall," replied. "And from its ashes, perhaps something better will grow, or perhaps other species will learn to stand on their own as they should have done centuries ago. Either way, it is not our concern." She walked back to her seat. "Ambassador, I will give you some advice. Go back to the council. Tell them to stop looking to humans for salvation. Tell them to focus on solving their own problems. Tell them to learn from this experience. And tell them that humanity wishes them no ill will, but we are done carrying you." Stood slowly, knowing the meeting was over. "Is there nothing I can say, nothing I can offer?" "No," said gently. "You came here thinking you could make a deal, but this is not about trade or treaties. This is about dignity. You asked us to surrender ours. We refused. Now you must find your own." The diplomatic team left Outpost 442 that evening. As their ship departed, looked back at the massive station, at the ships moving around it, at the construction drones building an empire in the darkness of space. Humanity had left the Council behind, and they were never coming back. 5 years had passed since humanity left the Galactic Council. 5 years since Ambassador had walked out of the Council chamber with quiet dignity. 5 years since the galaxy discovered what it meant to stand without humans holding it up. The Council chamber was different now. Only 8 species remained in their seats. 2 had collapsed entirely, their governments failing, their colonies abandoned. 2 more had withdrawn from the Council, choosing isolation over continued membership in a failing institution. The remaining 8 barely spoke to each other, each focused on their own survival. The hive speaker looked older somehow, though its species did not age as humans did. Its mandibles moved slowly when it spoke, lacking the sharp confidence of 5 years ago. "The security report," it said quietly. Delivered it. She was now the senior counselor, the one species that had maintained some stability through the crisis. "The Void Swarm has taken 6 more colonies in the Outer Rim. We have no forces available to respond. The pirate clans control 3 major trade routes. Merchant ships refuse to travel without military escorts we cannot provide. The Jumpgate network is operating at 30% capacity. Our engineers estimate complete failure within 2 years." No one argued. No one offered solutions. They simply listened to the litany of failures that had become routine. "There is one piece of positive news," continued. "The Confederation has established a trade agreement with the Human Confederation. They are receiving food supplies, medical support, and technological assistance. Their colonies are stable." The Tide Lord's voice gurgled with bitter anger. "They are collaborating with the enemy." "Humans are not the enemy," said sharply. "They never were. They were our partners, and we drove them away. Now some of us are wise enough to seek their help as independent nations rather than as council members." She did not mention that she had personally brokered that trade agreement, that she had traveled to 442 twice in the past year, negotiating terms that saved millions of her people. The Council did not need to know that the Confederation was quietly preparing to follow humanity's example and leave. Far beyond Council space, in the depths of a nebula that glowed with colors no Council species could see, Explorer piloted his scout ship through humanity's new frontier. He was young, born after the Exodus, part of the first generation to grow up entirely outside Council space. He had never known the restrictions his parents described. He had never needed permission to explore, approval to innovate, oversight to create. His sensors detected the colony ahead. New Sol, built on a moon orbiting a gas giant that pulsed with radiation. The moon should have been uninhabitable. Instead, it was home to 3 million people and growing. Activated his communication link. "New Sol Control, this is Scout Ship Magellan requesting clearance to dock." "Magellan, you are cleared for docking Bay 12. Welcome home. Your mother says dinner is at 7 and you better not be late this time." He laughed. That was the thing about human space. They built massive colonies and advanced technology, but they never forgot the small things. Family dinners, personal connections, the warmth that made civilization worth building. He docked and spent the afternoon filing his report. He had charted 3 new systems, all suitable for colonization. One had unusual mineral deposits that would be valuable for ship construction. Another had a moon with water ice that could support agriculture. The third was just beautiful, a place humans would want to live because it felt like home. The frontier was endless. Humanity had discovered regions of space that other species could not reach, resources they could not use, worlds they could not settle. And in those harsh territories, humans thrived. That evening, attended a conference at the colony's main research facility. Scientists from across human space had gathered to share their latest discoveries. Without council oversight, without committees and approval processes, human science was advancing at an incredible pace. He listened to presentations on new propulsion systems that would make faster-than-light travel twice as fast, medical treatments that could extend human by decades, energy generation that could power entire planets from a single facility, agricultural techniques that could grow food anywhere, even in hard vacuum. This was what humans could do when no one told them to slow down. On Earth, President addressed a gathering of colony representatives. The chamber was circular, with holographic projections allowing participants from hundreds of worlds to attend virtually. It was the largest meeting of human leadership since the Exodus. 5 years ago, we faced a choice: submit to control or stand on our own. We chose to stand. Many predicted we would fail. Some said we needed the Council's protection, their resources, their guidance. They were wrong. He gestured to the displays showing statistics from across human space. Population growth, technological advancement, resource production, all trending sharply upward. We have grown more in 5 years of freedom than in 50 years of Council membership. We have explored deeper, built faster, and lived fuller than we ever thought possible. But more importantly, we have done it our way, on our terms, with our values. The representatives listened quietly. Many of them had been part of the Exodus, had left comfortable positions in Council space to venture into the unknown. Others were born after, children of a free humanity. But we must also remember what we left behind, continued. The Council is failing. Their civilization is collapsing. Some of you have asked whether we should return to help them, whether we have an obligation to save species that once called themselves our allies. He paused, letting the question hang in the air. My answer is no. We have no obligation to rescue those who demanded our submission. But we also have no reason to refuse trade, no reason to reject friendship, no reason to be hostile. Any Council species that approaches us as equals will find us willing partners. Any individual seeking a better life is welcome in human space. We left the Council, not civilization itself. Watched the speech from her private quarters on the. She had received a copy through unofficial channels, through the quiet network of trade and communication that existed between humans and the few Council species, wise enough to maintain contact. She thought about her own government's decision. In 3 months, the Confederation would formally announce their withdrawal from the Council. They would follow humanity's path, seeking independence and dignity over membership in a failing institution. Other species would likely follow. The Council would eventually collapse completely, becoming a historical footnote, a cautionary tale about what happens when fear and control replace respect and partnership. But some species would adapt. Some would find their own strength, learn to stand on their own. The galaxy would be different, less unified, but perhaps more honest. And through it all, humanity would be there at the edges, exploring, building, thriving. Sat in a cafe on Nexus 7, the neutral station that existed between human and Council space. The station had changed over the years. The abandoned human sections had been converted to interface points where Council and human traders met. It was the only place where both civilizations regularly interacted. He came here often, watching the human ships pass through, gathering intelligence that no one in the Council seemed to care about anymore. Today, a young human couple sat at the next table, talking about their plans to start a colony on some distant world had never heard of. They were happy, they were free, they were everything the Council had feared. An old colleague joined at his table, a featherwing analyst who had once worked with human intelligence teams. They sat in silence for a while, watching the ships come and go. "Do you think they miss it?" the featherwing asked. "The Council, the old days?" Shook his head. "No, I think they have moved beyond that. The Council was something they needed when they were young and naive. Now they have grown past us. It is sad." Yes, agreed. But it is also right. We had a chance to keep them. We could have treated them as equals, valued them as partners, grown alongside them. Instead, we tried to control them. We made the choice that led to this. The Featherwing's feathers ruffled sadly. What will happen to us? Some will survive, said. Some will adapt. Some will trade with humans and prosper. Others will fall. He looked at his colleague. The galaxy is changing. The age of the Council is over. What comes next depends on whether we learn from our mistakes. Far out in the depths of space, beyond where any Council ship had ever traveled, a human exploration vessel detected something extraordinary. A cluster of habitable worlds circling a stable star, perfect for colonization. The ship's captain sent the coordinates back to the colonial office with a simple message. Found paradise, claiming it for humanity. And so humanity continued to expand, explore, and thrive. They built their civilization not in spite of leaving the Council, but because of it. They had learned the most important lesson any species could learn. Freedom was worth more than comfort. Dignity was worth more than safety. And the willingness to walk away from those who did not value you was the greatest strength of all. The Council could only watch from the ruins of their civilization, understanding too late what they had lost. Not just human ships or human technology or human protection. They had lost the example of what species could become when they refused to accept limits others tried to place on them. The humans had departed, and the galaxy would never forget the Council's final mistake.